That's right.
My name is Debbie Mirander. Hello.
Y'all listen.
My name is Debbie Mirander. For all who know me, I'm sure most of you are very familiar. I see a lot of familiar faces. I'm in clinic. When you come in, you have conditions that your baby go through. I'm the one that you first see when you first open the door, if you come in through the right door. But I'm here to give basic techniques or basic information about how to care for your baby. Not that I'm an expert, but I happen to have 3 of my own. So I have a little experience behind me. I may not have extensive pediatric experience, but I have what most of you are going through now, and that's home personal experience. And there's a lot of things, even if you have 1, 2, 3, up to 6 kids, there's always going to be, it's true, there are always going to be certain cases and certain times where you don't know what to do. So I'm just here to give you a little ease, because how many know that when you know what to do, then you will stay in a calm, relaxing, you will be calm. How many know that? If you know what to do in any situation, you'll be calm. But reality is, we don't know. We don't always know what to do in every situation. So we need help sometimes. We need guidance. And we know we have to seek out information. So then the thing that motivates me to come up with this class is the common conditions that I see repeatedly in the clinic. And these are conditions that normally every child would go through. But to make our lives easier, a lot of time it helps for us to know what's going on with our baby and what is normal and what is not, what to get anxious about and what to relax about, and wait for the symptoms, or just know what to do. Step 1, 2, 3. First of all, I want to give Ms. Dollar thanks for allowing me to do this class, because I think it's a great privilege to talk with you. Because I see you time and time again on a daily basis, but not in a setting as this. So this is going to be a very relaxing class. We're going to be open, and I want you to participate as much as you can. Okay? And I want you to ask questions, because that's what we're here for. Okay? When your baby is in a situation and something's going through that your baby's going through something, you don't know what's going on, the first thing you're thinking about is your baby. And then later on you say, oh my, I forgot to ask this, I forgot to ask that. Because I do it myself. You take your baby to the doctor, and there's, you have your list in your mind. But when you get to that office, you go blank. How many that have happened to? I'm the first to put my hand up.
Nurse Debbie, I've learned that I have to write it down.
That's the key.
When I get into the doctor's office, I pull out my little list.
Yes.
I mean, mine is 3 and 15, but I still have questions.
Yes, yes. And that's the key, is writing it down. Make that list. And then don't just mentally make it. Write it down. Because it's easy for me to make a list in my head. But then it's, when I sit down and write it down, then that lets me think. When you write it down, then you have additional questions. And then you may end up with, 10 questions, 5 questions. No matter how many questions you end up with, it's still your right to ask questions to the doctor, okay? And I know sometimes we go in the doctor's office and they rush, because they have their patients to see. But then that is your time. When you're in that office with that doctor, that is your time. So don't be afraid to pull out a list. A lot of times they like to see a list, because that lets them know that you are trying to get responsible, and you are trying to understand more about what's going on with your baby. So don't be afraid to pull out that list and go every list. And you can do it, while the doctor is examining your baby, and while the doctor is even asking you certain questions. You may come on a topic that's related to something on your list. So that's a good time to ask. You know, a lot of people wait till at the end when the doctors finish everything, and then they feel, okay, he has enough, time to answer my question. He's thinking about the next patient. So you have to try to make a mental picture of what it is you want to ask and when you're going to ask it. And you can ask it while you're going through it, while he's going through with his exam, and different things. So knowing what to do will keep you in a relaxed state, no matter what the situation. But now if it's an abnormal thing that your baby is going through, it's something that, hey, this is an emergency. And sometimes what you know doesn't get you anywhere, they all fly out the door because you're acting on emotions there. But the more you know about what's going on with your baby, the more you can control your emotions when the time is needed, to be calm. So we're going to go over common conditions in infancy, and I have a handout, and then we'll go over these first because I want to be able to cover all the pertinent things, at the beginning of the class. And then after we go over the conditions, and I'll show a little film which I got from the Media Center, and I think it's very, very nice. It's called The First 2 Years, What Lily Learned. Has anyone seen this? Great.
I found out sometimes you don't understand the doctor, and you're a little intimidated, like you're not sure whether what you're asking is stupid or something. And I have a doctor, in fact, I'm changing pediatricians in June when my insurance changed because this lady is very short patient. She don't really want you to ask questions, and she takes everything personal. Like she's very defensive when you ask a question about your children. She acts like it's a personal indictment on her. My son had a real high fever, like 3 o'clock in the morning, and he was throwing up, and he couldn't stop coughing. And I was scared as heck, ready to call 911. And when I called the emergency line, she asked me why was I calling her. She needed her sleep.
Oh my.
I reported her because that's her job.
That's her job.
That's her job. But then she called the next morning and apologized and said she had been up late. But to me, it's no apology for that kind of rudeness. Because here I am in the middle of the night, scared anyway. My kids been thrown up for like 30 minutes, and so forth. So she asked me to bring him in, and I wouldn't take him in. I asked the insurance company to send me to another pediatrician, because I refused to have him in my child. But I think you have to, as parents, have that right. And just because your insurance have you assigned with a different person, don't feel that's the only doctor. Because she was very insensitive, and I didn't want her looking at my child like that.
And that's the time you need her, that's the time you need someone, that was an emergency situation to her, and it is because your child is constantly vomiting, and then with the fever, you want to know what to do. And the first thing you want, you don't want, that's not the first thing you want to hear,
I didn't know what to do. I could not get that kid to stop throwing up. I thought he was going to throw his guts out. And she would not give me an authorization to take him to the emergency. But we got him calmed down, and my mother came over. Nothing like having a mother.
Right.
We got him
I'm a witness to that.
Calmed down and everything, and he was fine the next day, with the help of the other doctor. The other doctor gave him a shot because he'd run the fever for several days. And whatever antibiotic he was on was not working. But as soon as he got that shot, you could see him relax. So it helps.
Yeah. So then intervention needed to be done. There's conditions where we can maintain at home, but then there's a time when we can't do it at home, and your baby needs to see a doctor.
Sorry, Mrs. Sarway. We know that. Well, you know what? I'm not sitting because I don't know whether I'm going to have to run, but I'll get a chair. Excuse me. Scott said she was going to come down so she could know what to do with her new baby.
Oh.
Okay, the first condition we're going to cover, I try to go alphabetically, but then I made sure I covered most of the common things that we see in the clinic. The first is baby acne. Every baby almost have baby acne. Some, they keep their pretty skin, and some have a pimple here and there. And then we don't know, oh, my baby have a bump. And some have more than a couple of pimples, but this is normal, okay? Baby acne.
This one says common cold first.
I'm sorry, I didn't cover everything on the handouts, okay? I only covered things that I know that you would want to take home and refer back to, okay? But I encourage you, I meant to acknowledge that I would love you to take notes. So if you take out pencils and paper, as a matter of fact, I encourage you to take notes, okay? Because even on the handouts, there's some things I want you to add on the handout. Okay, the first thing we're going to cover is baby acne, and that was not on the handout. I started with common colds on the handout. About 30%.
Excuse me, Nurse Debbie, I know no one's being rude, no private conversation. Please, let's give her our respect. Thank you.
About 30% of all newborns have baby acne. And these are mainly red bumps all over the face. And I'm sure plenty of you have seen that. And this begins about 3 to 4 weeks after the baby's born. And it's normal. And it's the baby's way of getting rid of the, we have sebaceous oil glands. And babies have that too, but theirs are still developing. So they accumulate these little, their oil glands can get clogged, just like ours. But their body is still maturing, and it gives, it takes time for them, for them to excrete the oil, the excess oils out of their skin. So this clears on its own, so there's no reason for you to put any ointment or anything. And as a matter of fact, when your baby have acne and you put baby oil on it, it makes it even worse, because there's more oil that's getting in the baby's skin, more collection, and more time for the ducts to clear those oils out. So if your baby have baby acne, which most of you, your babies are pretty young, or there's a wide range of ages. But don't do anything to baby acne, okay? You only make the situation worse. I just wanted to bring that up because, we have to be able to identify what's baby acne or what's heat. We'll get into heat rash later. But they're just little tiny pimples, and most of them have little white heads, and they just clear away. Okay, now we're going to get into the common cold. This is a big one. Most colds happen all throughout the year, but the most cases of colds are during the winter season, and fall, winter, and even going into the spring. We're just getting into spring. But this winter, we've seen a lot of colds, and even my kids seem, had a few themselves this year alone. And common cold is caused by a viral infection of the nose and the throat. And this is usually spread by one person to another by hand contact, which, and also coughing and sneezing. And the symptoms that we're all familiar with is runny nose, nasal congestion, sometimes fever and sore throat, and sometimes we can have a cough. And, we can even just hear it in how the baby cough, and it can be a barking cough sometimes, but we don't want to, our baby to start barking, for too long. But it's probably a hoarseness. If you say, oh, my baby have a barking cough, we just think that, it's something like croup. But croup is another type of cough, and you can distinguish a croup cough from just a common cold cough. It can just be a hacking cough. And that's the baby's way. That's a normal response. Because if your baby have nasal congestion, the mucus runs back from the nose into the throat, and it irritates the throat. And then the first response is a cough. And then, the eyes can get red. And also there can be poor sucking. If the baby can't breathe because of the nasal congestion, that baby is not going to suck milk long.